Okay, let's step into a world where secret identities collide with the grim reality of World War I. You've brought us a stack of sources that offer two, well, very different windows into this tumultuous time.
That's right. We have excerpts from a vintage spy novel, Bernard Treves' Boots, and then also a deeply poignant letter from a French soldier writing home from the front lines in 1915.
And our mission for this deep dive, it's not just to summarize, is it? We really want to extract the key insights, connect the dramatic plot of the novel Espionage, assumed identities with the stark personal truth of that soldier's letter.
Exactly. What do they reveal together? About duty, identity, courage, and the heavy price of perceived failure, or even cowardice.
So, the novel, it throws us right in with John Manton, a disgraced army sergeant. He's taking on the identity of Bernard Treves, a man supposedly his near twin.
Right, and this whole arrangement, it starts as a way for Manton to settle a debt, but it instantly plunges him into a world of espionage and, well, very real danger,
Yeah.
all set against the massive backdrop of the Great War.
And then you contrast that with this incredibly raw personal account. An unknown French soldier, 1915, sharing reflections on just immense loss, the weight of duty, but also finding hope somehow.
Amidst unimaginable horror, yeah. The difference in perspective is striking right from the start.
Okay, so let's unpack Manton's first steps. He's in Treves lodgings in Lamington. The source mentions the room is crowded, but full of desirable possessions.
He notes that feeling of strangeness, stepping into another man's life, but it apparently starts to fade gradually.
And right away, we see a key contrast. Manson's own background is laid out. Orphan, meager education, precipitately enlisted in WWI.
Precipitate enlistment, join quickly, maybe without many other options perhaps, compared to Treves, whose belongings are described as costliest order, suggests wealth, privilege Manton never had.
Yeah, it feels like Manton is instantly out of his depth. Not just the lie, but the lifestyle. And then there's that really strange letter from Treves to Manton.
Oh yes, giving him permission to use everything. Use everything of mine as if it were your own. It is only fair if you get the med from me, you should get the hippins as well.
Mend, hippins. What does that even mean? The source doesn't tell us.
No, it's completely unclear. Adds to the mystery, and to the closing. When we shall meet again, I do not know. But in the meantime, Ova, I wonder what you will feel like this time next year.
Ova, another mystery. It really suggests there's something much deeper going on between them beyond just settling a debt, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A potentially risky arrangement. And what's fascinating here is the first subtle clue about the real Bernard Treves, before we even get close to meeting him.
Ah, the landlady.
Yeah.
Right. She accepts Manton as Treves, no questions asked, completely fooled.
But she mentions she's surprised he only drinks one peg of whiskey, unlike Mr. Treves.
Who usually had half a bottle every night.
Exactly. That seemingly small detail. It's huge. It tells us the real Treves likely had a serious problem. Hints at addiction, instability, which becomes critical later on.
So this whole assumed identity is built on, well, pretty shaky foundations, literally built on Treves' habits.
And the plot thickens almost immediately. A letter arrives. For Bernard Treves, from RT at Heatherfield Grange.
The handwriting itself sounds dramatic, shaky, sprawling, conveying distress.
And the content is explosive, accusing Bernard of hiding, dishonoring the family, demanding he come home right now.
So Manton stepped into more than just a name. He's walked into a family burdened by shame and expectation.
His reaction is telling. The source says initial unease gives way to violent curiosity. He's hooked. He's getting pulled into this family drama.
A drama that's clearly far more serious than he anticipated. And he starts to doubt his role in all this deception.
And that curiosity pushes him. Manton decides to go to Freshwater to visit Heatherfield Grange, described as this large, impressive Elizabethan mansion.
The moment he arrives, the lie gets reinforced, doesn't it?
It does. The old undergardener immediately recognizes him
Master Bernard.
and salutes.
Which prompts this internal question for Manton, the source says. Is this honorable? Does he even have the right to accept this recognition, this belonging?
It really highlights the moral tightrope he's walking. Inside, he meets Gates, the butler, white-haired, formal.
Gates is briefly surprised, but quickly accepts him as Mr. Bernard, says the father will be pleased and surprised.
But Manton senses something off, a lack of cordiality. He wonders if the butler simply dislikes the real Bernard.
Then the meeting with Colonel Treves, RT, in the library. This is the heart of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. The colonel is described as soldierly but frail, leaning on a stick, Yet his reaction to Manton, who he thinks is his son, is just savage.
You dog, delivered with intense dislike, contempt.
And despite his physical frailty, he refuses Manton's help, even raises his stick. He's consumed by anger and shame.
And the source of that shame, it comes out through a letter from a General Liston.
Yes, the colonel reads it aloud. It's utterly damning. It implies, your boy, Bernard, was guilty of cowardice in the face of the enemy.
Cowardice. Wow. It says he was not of the right stuff, and it was a meest fluke, a sheer fluke. He escaped lightly from whatever happened.
The colonel's anguish is profound. He just rails against Manton, believing him to be this cowardly son who shattered the family name.
Calls him a liar, a spendthrift, fool, gambler, profligate, and now, worst of all, a coward.
He brings up a chance for redemption reenlistment. But he says Bernard whined about not being able to face it, said his nerves wouldn't let him.
That perceived weakness, the nerves, clearly fuels the colonel's contempt even more, makes the cowardice harder to bear.
And then comes this truly shocking moment. The colonel produces an automatic pistol from his desk drawer.
Puts it on the table and tells Manton, his supposed son, if you have a shred of honor left, you will know what to do.
He's explicitly suggesting suicide as the only way to restore the family honor. It's brutal.
This whole scene, this dramatic family confrontation about courage, shame, honor, it offers such a stark contrast, doesn't it, to the other source, the French soldier's letter.
Oh, completely. While the novel explores these ideas through high drama accusations, this expectation of suicide to atone for perceived cowardice.
The letter gives us the perspective from someone actually in it, on the front lines. He's not writing about grand notions of family honor or specific battlefield heroics.
No, he's writing after his company has been decimated, 1,200 men killed in just 5 days. It's staggering loss.
And he says he cannot write about the horror, he just can't put it into words.
Instead, he focuses inward, on duty, on sustained effort, on a belief in the resilience of the human spirit, the national genius.
His idea of sacrifice, it's not about one big act or saving the family name. It's knowing the flag will be carried by someone, even if it's not him.
It's this quiet, almost anonymous sense of duty, isn't it? The collective effort continues, even as individuals fall. He even muses that maybe a peasant's son carries on the work of a fallen scholar.
And that line about sacrifice being knowing someone endures, that nature itself makes flags more beautiful than the little habits of individual lives. It's profound.
And his desired epitaph sums it up. Someone who simply withdrew from the world. It's incredibly poignant.
The contrast really couldn't be clearer. The novel gives us this high-stakes drama, the father's violent demand for atonement.
While the letter offers the quiet, internal endurance of a soldier, focused just on continuing the collective effort amidst unimaginable loss. Both explore duty, but from such different angles.
Absolutely. So, back in the novel's library, Manton's reaction to the pistol. It's not what the colonel expects at all.
Not at all. He doesn't despair like Bernard presumably would. He takes the pistol, puts it in his hip pocket.
And calmly says he'll use it if occasion arises.
The colonel is visibly surprised. Manton, the experienced soldier, sees a tool, not necessarily an instrument of suicide tied to shame.
He then tries to bridge the gap, offers to re-enlist immediately, says he has a friend in Ryde who can arrange it.
The colonel notes a new ring in his voice, maybe a flicker of something different. But tragically, he says he still can't trust him. The damage is too deep.
So Manton leaves, travels to Ryde, meets Captain Gilbert, the officer who got him into this whole impersonation scheme in the first place.
And Gilbert's reaction. It confirms Manton's success as an imposter. He initially mistakes Manton for Treves, exclaims, "Great Scott," surprised by the resemblance.
Gilbert confirms Manton has fulfilled his side of the bargain, repaid the debt at Scarrowhead Battery, lifted a load off Gilbert.
And significantly, Gilbert says Manton saved young Treves from going utterly to the devil.
Okay, so this is where we get the truth about the real Bernard Treves.
Yes. Gilbert explains Treves' nerves were all to rags, in a state of acute neurasthenia. That's a term they used then.
Right, for symptoms like fatigue, anxiety, probably what we'd now call severe shell shock or a mental breakdown, PTSD perhaps.
Exactly. Gilbert confirms Treves was expecting to lay hands on himself, kill himself, echoing the colonel's fears and his demand.
So the colonel wasn't entirely wrong about the suicide risk, but the reason.
Right. Gilbert persuaded Treves to go to a nursing home, a place recommended by General Whiston months ago.
Ah, General Liston. So the general wasn't just reporting perceived cowardice. He was also trying, quietly, to get Treves help.
Seems so, which puts the colonel's reaction in an even more tragic light, doesn't it? His son was genuinely broken by the war, likely suffering from severe shell shock.
But the colonel's rigid view of honor, his focus on cowardice, blinded him to that reality.
It adds such a tragic layer. And Gilbert then asks Manton to continue the impersonation until Treves recovers.
Not just for Treves or his father,
But for the good of the cause, hinting at bigger issues at play, something more than just family drama or personal recovery.
Manton doesn't grasp the full scale yet, but Gilbert basically asks him to trust him, says they're in this together.
While Manton is there, the butler, Gates, forwards some mail for Bernard Treves. 2 letters. Gilbert tells Manton to open them.
Since Treves is in the nursing home, yeah. And the first letter.
Chillingly, it's from a quack doctor offering a drug havoc cure.
So it confirms the addiction, explains that half bottle of whiskey detail the landlady mentioned.
Absolutely. Reveals another vulnerability. Treves wasn't just struggling with nerves, he was addicted, likely making him open to exploitation.
And the second letter.
It's from a G. Manners at 208 St. George's Square, SW, London. Short, imperative. Demands Treves come at once.
Reads, Dear Treves, I must see you at once. You understand. It is essential that you should come to me without delay. Tomorrow night at 9:00 I shall expect you. Sounds urgent.
Gilbert suspects Manners is a bad influence, someone Treves needs to avoid. But he advises Manton to go to this meeting, in Treves' place.
Stepping deeper into the fire, and Gilbert gives him instructions on how to play the part.
Critical guidance. Practice copying Treves' degenerate handwriting. Remember his lack of willpower, his cocaine addiction. The source says Treves would do anything short of murder for the drug.
Wow. And also that drug victims can have convenient lapses of memory.
Exactly. Manton is being prepped to play an addicted, potentially traitorous man meeting his handler.
This is where the plot just takes a sharp turn, doesn't it? From family tragedy and military disgrace right into espionage.
A very sharp turn. Manton travels to London, arrives at St. George's Square. The source notes its gloomy atmosphere. He's observing the house, number 208, before his 9 p.m. meeting.
And as he watches, a taxi pulls up. A tall young man gets out.
The source gives details. Morning coat, expensive hat, tie pin, silk-lined overcoat. Looks wealthy, refined.
But crucially, he wears a service-rendered badge, implying he was invalided out of the army.
Yeah, Manton notes he doesn't look ill, which raises a flag. Is the badge a cover?
This young man goes straight to number 208 and lets himself in with the Yale key. He belongs there.
And the perspective shifts inside the house. Now we get information Manton doesn't have yet. We see the dark hall, the somber butler, Conrad, who's later identified as Heb Barron.
The young man goes into the library, speaks curtly to Godfrey Manners, described as stout, fleshy neck, short gray hair, smartly dressed despite his build, but active.
And here comes the big reveal from the source. Godfrey Manners. He's actually Gottfried Manwitz, a German agent operating in London.
And the tall young man, his superior, Baron Rathenau, an Oxford graduate, speaks perfect English, but clearly keen, ruthless.
We overhear their conversation. Rathenau is frustrated. He wants better intelligence from Manwitz, not just useless details like troop departure times.
Like the SS Polier leaving H at 4 p.m., that kind of detail.
Exactly. Rathenau dismisses that.
Yeah.
He wants the objective, the destination, the vital intelligence Berlin needs for aggressive action. This is serious stuff. High-stakes espionage.
And right then, their meeting is interrupted. The butler announces, rather awkwardly, Mr. Treves Baron to see her Manners.
Presumably meaning Mr. Treves Baron is here to see Mr. Manners, or maybe even Mr. Treves to see the Baron and Mr. Manners, but it comes out jumbled. Manton has arrived.
To Rathenau's reaction, immediate suspicion, right?
Yes. Manwitz explains who Treves is one of his instruments. The cashier British officer gone to pieces, addicted to drugs.
Manwitz says he controls him with cocaine, but notes Treves recently disappeared for 3 weeks. This makes Rathenau wary.
And Manwitz produces that damning letter again, the one about the SS Polier.
Let's hear it again. My dear friend, the SS Polier is due to leave H at 4 tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon. I have this on absolute authority. You can rely on it. Don't forget the tabloids. Signed, Treves.
Rathenau's analysis is chillingly quick. He says this letter is treason, enough to get Treves shot by a firing squad within 48 hours.
He even mentions how swiftly the English deal with traitors in the Power of London. He sees Treves as disposable and now potentially compromised because he disappeared.
Utterly ruthless. Rathenau decides he needs to see this Treves himself. He takes the incriminating letter, tells Manwitz to leave them alone.
And instructs the butler, Conrad, to bring Mr. Treves up. Manton, completely unaware of who these men really are or that Rathenau is even there.
He's walking directly into a German spy nest, about to face a top enemy agent who believes him to be a traitor he controls and who now holds the evidence to prove it.
It's an incredible convergence.
Yeah.
Manton's simple act, assuming an identity to pay a debt. It's dragged him through the Treves family's tragic layers, the disgrace, the addiction, the father's harsh code of honor, the suicide fears.
And now, that very personal, complicated tragedy has intersected violently with this dangerous international espionage ring, a ring that was using the real vulnerable Bernard Treves for treason.
And all through this gripping narrative from the novel, your sources keep holding up that contrasting image. The soldier's letter.
Right, while the novel details deceit, exploitation, the high drama of failure and treason.
The letter reminds us of the quiet, often unseen reality of duty and sacrifice on the actual front lines. It's not about grand plots or family names.
It's about surviving immense loss, just continuing the effort, holding on to hope that someone will carry the flag no matter who they are. The novel shows the dark side, weakness exploited in a hidden war.
While the letter shows the profound, often anonymous strengths required in the visible, brutal war.
It's quite a journey through these sources. We've seen how one man's decision wearing another's boots just pulled him into this tangled web, family shame, military breakdown, and now international espionage.
And juxtaposed with that, the quiet power of the anonymous soldier's letter, highlighting that difference between, dramatic external conflicts and the internal landscape of duty, loss, and enduring hope.
Why does this matter? I think your sources powerfully illustrate how individual lives, their secrets, their struggles with honor, their moral choices are woven into the vast fabric of huge historical conflicts like WWI.
Whether it's fiction, like the novel, or personal account, like the letter, these stories explore timeless questions: courage, failure, identity, the search for meaning when everything's chaotic.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to think about.
It really does. What does it truly mean, then, to carry the flag in a time like that? Is it the dramatic, dangerous work Manton is now seemingly being thrust into?
Or is it the desperate, rigid pursuit of family honor we saw in Colonel Treves, which led him to misunderstand his own son's trauma?
Or perhaps is it that quiet, unseen endurance? The soldier in the trenches who simply knows that someone must carry on, whether their sacrifice is ever known or not?
How do we even distinguish true sacrifice from self-destruction, driven by shame, or even from outright betrayal, like the real Treves was manipulated into? These sources really make you grapple with those distinctions.